Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome back to another very important episode of the Capibaras English podcast. I am Miss Capibara, your language coach and partner in this journey toward fluency. Today, I am looking at my co-host, Mr. Capi, and I have to say, Mr. Capi, you look like you've seen a ghost. You're wearing a scarf in the middle of summer. You have a box of tissues under your arm, and you're drinking something that smells like ginger and garlic. Are you feeling okay, or are you just trying out a new fashion trend?
Oh, Miss Capibara, I wish it was a fashion trend. But no, I woke up this morning feeling like a giant had stepped on my head. My throat feels like I swallowed a cactus, and I have this strange cough that sounds like a broken tuba. I knew I should probably call the doctor, but then the health panic hit me. I started thinking, how do I explain a broken tuba sound in English? What if the doctor asks me about my medical history and I accidentally tell him I've had 3 hearts? I'm so stressed about the language that I think it's actually making my fever worse.
Oh, poor Mr. Capi. You are suffering from a very common condition called medical vocabulary anxiety. It's a real thing. When we feel sick, we are already vulnerable. Then you add the pressure of speaking a second language where the stakes are high, because, let's be honest, you want the right medicine, and it's the perfect recipe for a panic attack. But don't worry, today's episode is dedicated to you, and to everyone listening who has ever avoided the doctor because they didn't know how to say, "It hurts right here." We are going to walk through the clinic doors together, and by the end of this hour, you'll be able to explain your symptoms like a professional.
I really hope so. I've been sitting here trying to translate punzada and ardor in my head, and I'm just getting more confused. I don't want to sound like a medical textbook. I just want to tell the doctor what's wrong so I can go back to bed and eat some soup. Where do we even start? Is it the phone call again?
It always starts with the phone call, or at least the reception desk. You need to get your foot in the door. The most important thing when you're sick is urgency and clarity. You don't need to explain your whole life story to the receptionist. You just need an appointment. I always use a very specific, polite phrase to start. I say, "I'd like to schedule an appointment with a doctor as soon as possible, please." That "as soon as possible" is the key. It tells them you aren't calling for a checkup next year. You're calling because you feel bad now. Let's practice that, Mr. Capi. Imagine you're on the phone with the clinic.
Okay, let me try to sound sick but clear. I'd like to schedule an appointment with a doctor as soon as possible, please. I'd like to schedule an appointment with a doctor as soon as possible, please. I'd like to schedule an appointment with a doctor as soon as possible, please.
Excellent. Now the receptionist might ask, "What is the nature of your visit?" Or, "What are your symptoms?" They just want to know if it's an emergency. You can keep it very simple. You can say, "I have a high fever and a very sore throat." It's direct and tells them exactly why you need to be seen. Try that one.
I have a high fever and a very sore throat. I have a high fever and a very sore throat. I have a high fever and a very sore throat.
Perfect. Now let's skip forward. You've made the appointment, you've arrived at the clinic, and you're sitting in that little room waiting for the doctor. The door. Great. Now the doctor will want more detail about the pain. This is the part you were worried about, the types of pain. In English, we have specific words for different sensations. If the pain feels like a drum beating in your head, we call it throbbing. If it feels like a sharp needle, we call it sharp. And if it's just a low, constant pain, we call it dull. Let's practice describing a headache. I'd say, I have a throbbing headache that won't go away.
Throbbing, like a drum. I like that. I have a throbbing headache that won't go away. I have a throbbing headache that won't go away. I have a throbbing headache that won't go away.
Very good. Now, what about that cactus in your throat? That's a burning sensation. We can say, I have a burning sensation in my throat when I swallow. This is very descriptive and helps the doctor a lot. Let's try it.
I have a burning sensation in my throat when I swallow. I have a burning sensation in my throat when I swallow. I have a burning sensation in my throat when I swallow.
You're doing amazing. Now, sometimes the doctor will touch a part of your body, like your stomach or your arm, and ask if it hurts. If it hurts when they touch it, the word is tender. You can say, it's a bit tender right here when you press down. This is very common in medical English. Repeat that for me.
It's a bit tender right here when you press down. It's a bit tender right here when you press down. It's a bit tender right here when you press down.
You're a natural patient. Now let's move to something very important, your medical history and allergies. The doctor might ask, are you allergic to any medications? This is a safety first moment. Even if you aren't sure, it's better to say something. I use a very clear statement. I am allergic to penicillin and some types of antibiotics, or whatever you are allergic to. Let's practice with penicillin because it's a common one.
I am allergic to penicillin. I am allergic to penicillin. I am allergic to penicillin.
And if you don't have any allergies, you can say, not that I'm aware of. This is a very sophisticated way to say, I don't think so. It sounds much more fluent. Try it.
Not that I'm aware of. Not that I'm aware of. Not that I'm aware of.
Perfect. Now, the doctor might start explaining what you have. Maybe it's the flu, maybe it's an infection. They might use big words like respiratory or inflammation. If you get confused, don't just nod your head and pretend to understand. This is your health. You have the right to ask for a simpler explanation. I always say, I'm sorry, could you explain that in simpler terms? I didn't quite understand. It is a very powerful and respectful phrase. Practice that one 3 times, Mr. Capi.
I definitely need to be brave enough to say this. I'm sorry. Could you explain that in simpler terms? I'm sorry. Could you explain that in simpler terms? I'm sorry. Could you explain that in simpler terms?
Exactly. And another great way to make sure you have the right information is to ask for it in writing. Doctors are often in a hurry, and their handwriting is famous for being difficult to read. You can say, could you write down the diagnosis and the instructions for me, please? This way you can look up the words later if you need to. Repeat that.
Could you write down the diagnosis and the instructions for me, please? Could you write down the diagnosis and the instructions for me, please? Could you write down the diagnosis and the instructions for me, please?
Now we are at the end of the visit. The doctor gives you a prescription. You need to know how to take the medicine. This is a critical part of the conversation. I always ask 2 things. How often and with or without food? I say, how often should I take this and should I take it on an empty stomach? This covers the most important rules for medication. Let's practice.
How often should I take this, and should I take it on an empty stomach? How often should I take this, and should I take it on an empty stomach? How often should I take this, and should I take it on an empty stomach?
Excellent. And what about the side effects? You don't want to be surprised if the medicine makes you sleepy or gives you a stomachache. I ask, are there any common side effects I should be aware of? Again, we use that be aware of phrase. Let's try it.
Are there any common side effects I should be aware of? Are there any common side effects I should be aware of? Are there any common side effects I should be aware of?
You've got it. And the very last thing, before you leave the room, you need to know what happens if you don't get better. This is the safety exit. I ask, what should I do if my symptoms get worse, or if I don't feel better in a few days? This gives you a plan of action. Practice that one.
What should I do if my symptoms get worse? What should I do if my symptoms get worse? What should I do if my symptoms get worse?
Mr. Capi, I am so incredibly proud of you. You've gone from a panicked, sniffling capybara to a patient who can navigate a full medical consultation. How do you feel? Does your throat feel a little less like a cactus now?
You know, it actually does. It's amazing how much of my sickness was just the stress of not being able to communicate. Now that I have these phrases, I feel like I have a map. I'm not just waiting for the doctor to tell me what to do. I'm an active participant in my own health. I think the simpler terms phrase is my favorite. It's like a secret weapon against confusing medical words.
It really is. And remember, doctors want you to understand. They aren't there to test your English. They are there to help your body. If you use these phrases, you are helping them do their job better. It's a win-win situation.
I totally agree. And to all our listeners out there, please don't wait until you're as sick as I was today to learn these. Write them down. Put them on your fridge. You never know when you'll need to say, I have a throbbing pain, or I'm allergic to this.
That is the best advice, Mr. Capi. Preparation is the enemy of panic. Before we wrap up today's long and healthy session, let's do one final recovery run. I'll give you the situation and you give me the phrase. Are you ready, Mr. Capi?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
You're calling to get an appointment today.
I'd like to schedule an appointment as soon as possible, please.
You're telling the doctor how long you've been sick.
I have been feeling this way for about 3 days.
You're describing a very sharp pain in your back.
It's a sharp pain in my lower back.
You don't understand the doctor's explanation.
Could you explain that in simpler terms, please?
You're asking about medication and food.
Should I take this on an empty stomach?
You're asking what to do if the medicine doesn't work.
What should I do if I don't feel better in a few days?
Amazing. A clean bill of health for your English skills. You are officially ready to face the clinic.
Thank you so much, Miss Capibara. I'm going to go make that call right now, and then I'm going to get some real rest. No more broken tuba cough for me.
I'm glad to hear it. And to everyone listening, thank you for being with us today. Your health is the most important thing you have, and your ability to talk about it in English is a huge part of taking care of yourself. Don't let the language be a barrier to your well-being. Bite the bullet.
Bite the bullet. Exactly. If you found this episode helpful, please subscribe to the Capibaras English podcast. Leave us a comment and tell us, what's the one medical word that always confuses you? We'd love to help you out in a future episode.
Yes, please. We love hearing from you. And don't miss next week's episode, where we'll be exploring the job interview. How to shine even if you're nervous. That's another high pressure situation we're going to conquer together.
I'll be there, hopefully with no scarf and no tissues. Thank you again, Ms. Capibara. Have a healthy and happy day, everyone.
See you soon. Stay healthy and keep practicing.
Bye-bye. Get well soon, everyone.